very good evening to all our viewers coast to coast in Guyana. This is a special presentation on Budget 2018, Beyond the Numbers, Budget 2018. I am Bishop Juan Edghill, PPPC Member of Parliament, and with me in studio tonight is our lead person on finances and economy, PPPC Member of Parliament, Irfan Ali. And we'll be talking to you about the budget. Yesterday afternoon, Minister of Finance read the budget, and today we saw quite a bit of reporting in the various news outlets. I'm sure you're anxiously awaiting to hear our perspective, because beyond all the fluff, beyond all the smooth talk and the rhetoric are the real issues. So tonight we'll be talking about those real issues and how Budget 2018 fails to deliver and how it fails to ensure that the economy is stimulated and that our country grows. So to open our discussion is, like I said, is our lead person on finance and the economy in the Parliament, Honorable Irfan Ali, PPPC MP, Minister, former Minister Irfan Ali.
Thank you very much, Bishop Edghill. First of all, let me thank the viewers out there for affording this opportunity to share our thoughts on Budget 2018. We have tonight's program is being broadcasted in Berbice and on the radio station also. So we encourage all of you to interact. We have the numbers on the screen tonight with us. Budget 2018, any budget, should be able to create opportunities, enhance the welfare of the people, expand the economy, and stimulate growth and create hope for the country. In all of these areas, Budget 2018 has failed miserably. Budget 2018 did not have the room to increase or to bring any new taxes. That is because of a simple fact. Budget 2016 had over 200 plus new taxes and license fees that was inhibitive to growth, inhibitive to the private sector, inhibitive to business development, and inhibitive to increase in disposable income by the ordinary people. We would have hoped that based on our motion that was submitted in National Assembly, Budget 2018 would have removed a lot of those obstacles, hindrances to economic growth and expansion. The Minister of Finance sought to make the point that Budget 2018 comes at a halfway point in the APNU-AFC term of government. It is important for us, therefore, to contextualize what has occurred. They are in government now 2015, 2016, 2017. So our last budget, full budget, would have been in 2014. Now let us look at a few of the sectors and to see what has transpired from then to now in that midterm analysis. The forestry sector, for example, which employs more than 40,000 people, from mid-2014 to now, has declined by 85%. There has been an 85% decline in the forestry sector. In monetary terms, from then to now, there has been a decline in revenue from the forestry sector of $5.8 million US. Having said that, what is it in Budget 2018 that would help to stimulate the sector, that would create a stimulus package to aid investment, to reduce the cost of production, and to encourage new investment in the sector? Budget 2018 is silent on this decline in the forestry sector, and it does not cater in the terms of any new policy for a reversal of this dreadful decline. Rice. A lot is said about rice, but in actual fact, from the time he left government to now, revenue from rice has declined by 48 million US dollars. 48 million US dollars revenue from rice has declined by. We want to increase productivity, we want to increase production in the rice sector. We want to help the rice farmers, given the low costs, the low prices for rice production. No announcement on subsidy and stimulus in terms of removing the taxes on fuel for the rice farmers. Nothing in terms of seed paddy, of newer variety to enhance productivity for the farmers. No subsidy, no help. Nothing has been announced, nothing was announced in Budget 2018 that is going to help the rice sector, which revenue has declined by 48 million US dollars from the time he left government. Mining and quarrying has declined by 17 million US dollars from the time he left government to now.
Decline.
Every single sector has declined, and revenue has declined, and that is why more of the budget has to be financed from borrowing and debt. When in 2015 we were financing less than 5% from borrowing, today we are financing more than 20% of the budget from borrowing. So mining and quarrying has declined, and by the way, the government has delivered nothing from its manifesto for those in the mining sector. What it did last year was to have the tributers tax increase and to have the final tax. All they did this year was to reverse to the original position
on the tributers.
On the tributers tax, and then there is a prorated scale. Non-performing loans. Non-performing loans has increased from 11.9% in mid-2016 to 13.1% in mid-2017. What is worrying, Bishop?
People can't pay.
They can't pay
their
the loans.
Mortgages. They can't pay their loans.
What is worrying is that 61% of the non-performing loan is contracted in the business enterprise sector, which means that businesses which employ people, which stimulate the economy, are in a position now, 61% of the non-performing loan is contracted in this sector. Yet, Budget 2018 does not address this. It does not address this issue. Then we have, let us look at growth rate. The growth rate of 2.9% that is projected at the end of the year fall well below the projection in Budget 2017, which was revised by mid-year 2017 and now has been further revised downwards. But that is not the whole story. If you look at the IMF 2017 surveillance report, we would see that the potential for growth in the economy in 2015, for example, was 4.09%. Our actual growth was only 3.2%. So in 2015, we did not fulfill our potential in terms of growth and development. We fell short. In 2016, our potential growth rate was pegged at 3.93%. We only grew at 3.4%. Again, in 2016, we fell short of our potential, according to the IMF surveillance report. If we look at 2017, using the same IMF formula, our growth rate was projected at 3.79%. Our actual growth rate is 2.9%. Again, we fell short of our potential growth rate.
So the economy is underperforming.
So the economy has been underperforming over the last 3 years.
Under the management of the APN.
Of the APN UFC government. And there is nothing in the budget, no measures, no set of menu of measures, or no policy that aims at arresting this. Now what does this mean for the economy? It basically means that over the last 3 years, as a result of this underperformance in growth, we lost $3 billion per annum. We lost $3 billion Ghana dollars every year as a result of the underperformance. And then the announcement of $500 increase for the pensioners for 12 months. Divide $500 by 12. Less than $45. Less than $45 increase for the pensioners per month.
Per day.
Right? And then look at what is happening according to the Consumer Price Index. Food prices has increased by 4.5%. Food prices has increased by 4.5%. Medical and personal care has increased by 3.4%. And educational services has increased by 4.6%. These are essential. Food prices, medical and personal care are essential expenditure for the pensioner. And both has increased by 4.5% and 3.4%. And this increase can be attributed directly to a number of taxes and the addition of VAT on the provision of these services in the 2016 budget. Nothing has been announced. No plan or policy or measure has been announced in relation to these increases, which far outstrip the meager $500 that they're talking about. Then we have the failed promises. I know you will want to get into a lot of those. The Wismar-Mackenzie Bridge that is now talked about in the 2017 budget. They stated that a feasibility study for this bridge will be carried out. Where's the study? In 2017, according to the minister, in 2017 they were supposed to conduct a feasibility study.
Monies were appropriated for that.
Where is the feasibility study? Now we are hearing about the same bridge again. Then the minister spoke about transformative projects. Sheriff Street, Mandela Road, that is a PPP civic project started under the PPP civic government. The East Coast Demerara Highway started under the PPP civic government, and the West Demerara Highway, all PPP civic project. So where are the new set of projects that are going to transform Guyana and take us to a next level of growth and development? The housing sector. They said they're going to move away from the old model of housing and target low and middle income household. Guess what? That was the foundation of the old model, of the model the PP Civic left. They spoke about public-private partnership as a new initiative. This was already there. One of the driving force in the housing sector was public-private partnership. There is nothing new about this. Affordable financing. We are the ones who brought the interest rebate for first-time homeowners. That was there. Nothing new about that. And guess what, Bishop? Guess what was a big announcement as the accomplishment in the housing sector? They built 6 duplexes, 2 elevated single-family homes, and allocated 381 house lots. That was the excitement for housing.
The only word that I can use to describe that is lethargic.
Then you have the $30 million loan that is announced for the housing sector. We started the negotiation of that loan when we were in government. So the subsidies, the core home program, the roof replacement program, and the hinterland housing development are all projects that were inherited. Nothing new, nothing new to stimulate the growth, stimulate the expansion of the housing sector, create incentive so that people can borrow more, build more. These are absent. These measures are absent in Budget 2018. So, Bishop, if you look at all the economic indicators, the economy is in decline. The economy is not performing. And there are no set of measures in Budget 2018 that addresses this. For a matter of fact, what is there in the budget for farmers? What set of measures are in the budget to help the farmers, to increase productivity, to help in markets? There's a talk of diversification. What are the incentives? Which field are you diversifying in? Nothing. All fluff. There is nothing there for farmers. Teachers. Not a single word in the budget to address teachers as a core group. Nothing in the budget to address nurses, young professionals, Amerindian, women. These are specific groups in the society that a budget should target and create opportunities to help and to promote. Nothing, no measure in the budget for these categories. For a matter of fact, there is a talk, well, it's clear now that they're heading to close sugar. But yet, the budget does not outline a menu of measures of how they're going to reskill, retool, help these workers, whether they're going to provide any revolving fund, any transitional fund to help these workers. There is no mention of a social and economic analysis as to the welfare and well-being of these workers, just a closed statement. So, in a nutshell, Budget 2018 takes us nowhere.
Thank you, Irfan, and I think we're going to open the lines in a little bit to have some discussion, but I would want to share a little bit of perspective because sometimes our people don't get an opportunity to read these big thick books, so they need people to interpret it for them. I've been looking at the numbers, and tonight we're going beyond the numbers.
Yeah.
And it is clear that the APNU AFC administration likes to spend, but it is clear that they are spending on the wrong things. I know you made the point just now, but let me just make it so we could, the listening public could have it clear. The pension is $500 more per month.
Yeah.
$500 more per month, which works out to be about 16 point something dollars per day.
Yeah.
Now, but I just want to show you something. Old age pension last year, we spent $13,691,680. So we spent $13.6 billion paying old age pension last year. This year, we're going to spend $13.8 billion. Just $148 million more will be spent on old age pension. But listen, last year, we spent on national and other events $808 million. This year, we're going to spend $911 million. So for parades, pomp, and ceremony, we're going to spend $103 million more in 2018 than we spent last year. Listen to this, on dietary, because this government likes to eat. Last year, they spent $4,748 million on dietary. This year, we're going to spend $5,236 million. That is $488 million more than last year.
That's right.
So rather than giving $488 million more of benefits to pensioners, we spend it on snacks and food and drinks and parties and Christmas parties and so on. That's what I'm saying. This government likes to spend 148 million more on the amount of money for pensions, but 488 million more for food. Now, as it relates to security, this is not the Ministry of Public Security. This is guard services, guard at Minister's house, guard at the PS house, and security to make, and bodyguards and so on to make sure everybody look good. Last year they spent 3.771 billion. This year they're going to spend 4.93 billion, $722 million more on security. And the pensioners are only getting 148 million more. And so the minister says you don't have fiscal space to improve pensioners. But you know what the minister is actually admitting? The economy is not doing well. So the $500 old age pensioners is the first admission that the common man, the grassroots people could understand. If the economy was doing well, the minister could have given more to the pensioners. And secondly, misplaced priorities.
That's right.
Misplaced priorities.
That is the point, Bishop Edghill.
I just look at 3 areas to show you where money is going.
Even if you have limited resources,
yes, priority.
You have to prioritize the use of those resources. And it's clear that the pensioners, the school children, women, Amerindian, and other vulnerable groups are not the priority for this government.
So every senior citizen must hear this fact tonight. The Minister of Finance has only budgeted $148 million more for you in 2018. But for food, for all them people in the ministries and the dancing and the partying and everything, $488 million more. For national events, which is fireworks and parade and dancing, and which we have to have that. We had that when we were in government, but it was measured and it was not done in an exuberant extravagant manner. And like I said, security, Irfan, security, you're gonna put $722 million more, and then you're gonna talk about controlling crime. But if you have to spend $722 million more in security charges for guard, school, and health center, it tells about the state of the economy, and more people are turning to crime.
Another thing that in the budget, Bishop, that we have to look at, that you may want to speak on, is the bloating of the public sector.
Well,
in contract workers.
I could just tell
when we were in government, this was a big cry about contract employees.
And this is where the money is going.
Contract employees has increased tremendously under this government. And maybe you'll want to examine that.
Well, I will just give you some figures on one sector, because we don't want to bore people with a lot of numbers tonight. We want to talk about the principle. The office of the president, which is the pinnacle of the executive. Last year, the office of the president, current and capital budget, totaled $5,791,000,000. This year, the office of the president budget, capital and current, totals $9,485,000,000, an increase of $3,684,000,000. But you know where it is going? The office of the president, when you check the chart, last year they had 564 persons employed. In 2018, they're increasing this by 168 persons to 732. So that's what you're talking about. More job for the boys. 160. Listen, the office of the president hasn't expanded its space where these people are. Some of these people are on the payroll and they don't have to go to work.
A simple question for the public out there. Has any one of you in the public, or brothers and sisters out there, seen an advertisement or a vacancy advertisement
that you could have
from the office of the president outlining 169 positions
that you could apply for and get a job?
That you could have applied for. Outlining 168 positions that is open to any citizen of this country.
So this government like to spend. That's why they spend on Durban Park. They spend, you know, on all these useless projects that bring no benefit to people. If you're going to invest money, invest it in sectors that could cause the economy to grow, and as the economy grow, you'll be able to do greater welfare for the people and bring benefits to all of our people. But Irfan, you made a point a little earlier about financing the budget from debt. The Bank of Guyana report shows that our stock of debt continues to increase. At the end of 2015, total debt stood at 1.143 billion US dollars. And government projection by Minister Jordan indicate that this is expected to increase to 1.213 billion at the end of 2018. An examination of the estimates show that increasing borrowing is funding our budget. Listen to these figures. Because expenditure is more than revenue, they got to get money to finance the budget. In 2015, they said they inherited a bankrupt economy, but they funded the budget by just using 1%. 1% of total government expenditure was funded by borrowing. Today, you know what it is? 22%. So they said they inherited a bankrupt economy, and they were able to put out a 230, I think it was 229 or something like that, billion budget in 2015, and only 1%.
But worse, the bigger point too, Bishop, is if you are borrowing can also stimulate the economy.
You know what I mean? Yes, spend it on things
that economic opportunities. But what are you borrowing for? Which sectors are you borrowing for?
Now it's
and if you look at where the expenditure is going, it is not going in a productive sector. It is not going to improve productivity. It is not going to increase productivity. It is not going to enhance productivity, which will enhance the economic welfare and prospect of Guyana and our people. That is the point. The priorities are wrong. But Bishop, let us look at a few categories of Guyanese. First of all, the farmers. What can the farmers expect out of budget 2018?
Paying more taxes.
You may want to elaborate a bit for the viewers there.
Because the truth about it, while the minister said no new taxes, and people probably breathe a sigh of relief, what the minister
I just want to make this point. When the minister said no new taxes, that was not the issue for 2018.
No.
The issue for 2018 was that the tax regime exploded in 2017 when the minister announced more than 200 plus new taxes and licenses.
The only thing he didn't tax was the air we breathe.
What we were hoping for in 2018 was a reversal of all of those taxes. Take, for example, education. The minister now says, and we had this in our motion,
to the
maybe we'll want to examine the motion on some of what we propose, because we want the viewers out there to know that the PP Civic outlined a comprehensive list of measures in a motion to
120,
which would have benefited every single Guyanese in the sector. So whilst the Minister of Finance spoke about reversing his decision to impose VAT on educational services, he did not speak about educational material. So is the VAT reversed from educational materials and supply? Because that drives up the cost of education too and educational services. Is the VAT has not been reversed from health services and health supplies. The VAT has not been reversed
on electricity and
water. These are things that affect the common man, the ordinary man.
For the farmers,
this is what affects disposable income.
For the farmers and the miners, the VAT on equipment remains.
Exactly.
The 14% on heavy duty equipment that you didn't pay for before, that you are paying for now under this APNU, I almost said PNC government, remains. They did not reverse that.
And
so capital costs has been driven up.
There is nothing in budget 2018 about the sovereign wealth fund.
Nothing.
That has gone under the carpet. Not a mention about the sovereign wealth fund and how they're going to deal with the revenue from oil.
We need to let the ordinary man know that with the valuation that the minister is talking about of properties, revaluation of properties, you will have to end up paying more in rates and taxes. But I want to assure the Guyanese public, out of the 71 local authority areas we control as a party, 54, I think, of those. And the only way that that could be increased is if a motion is carried at the NDC and at the municipality level. And this is something that we will resist because it is going to bring added hardships on the people of Guyana.
You see, how is it that the budget allows freeing up of disposable income? Disposable income allows greater spending, and greater spending stimulates the economy, enhances the prospect of everyone else. The budget 2018 has no measure, no policy, no
incentive.
Plan, no incentive that would enhance disposable income of the ordinary person.
The income tax threshold remains the same. But here what the minister is saying now. If you only work 1 month, you get the same rebate as the person who works for the entire year, which is the 720,000 free pay. You know who this benefits? The consultants and the people who get short-term consultancy and so on. So they get the rebate. But it is not anything for the ordinary man. I met a young lady today who's got 2 children married and so on. I said to her, did you listen to the budget yesterday? She says, kind of, I think I'm not in it for me. And I'm sure that is the common mood of most of the people. Because here what the minister is saying, in the private sector, people will now get tax-free vacation allowance, as if this is some big initiative. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe some private sector employees were not giving their workers
let us look at the reality. The reality is that other allowances are taxable.
Well, yes.
For example, your entertainment allowance, your housing allowance, your transportation allowance. A better measure would have been to lump all the allowance together, set a threshold, and make it tax-free.
Yeah.
Because you still have these allowances.
And that's every month.
That are going to be taxable every month. So we can go to some calls now.
Yes. I think the number to call is 226-3310, 226-3310. And we want to make special mention, those of you in Berbice, please remember, you're not calling the Berbice number, you're calling the Georgetown number. That is 226-3310. I think we will take our first caller. Let me see if we get it. Good evening. Good evening. I think we probably missed it.
The other issue was trying to sort out the technical issues here. The other issue.
Hello?
Hello, good night.
Oh, good night. Thank you, sir, for coming through. This is Beyond the Numbers.
Yeah. I would like to talk about the pension increase.
Mm-hmm.
That pension increase is more than an insult.
Mm-hmm.
Senior citizens. It's better if they didn't give them anything.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do something about it.
Well, we will be making representation for the tens of thousands of pensioners in this country who benefit from our old age pension. And it's a good time for us to remind the nation it was the PPPC that removed the means test and ensured that every person who attained the age of 65 get their old age pension. And we will be raising this in the debate. So listen out for the debates from Monday, and we will be making representation.
And I saw the DPI, the Director of Public Information,
Department of Public Information, trying to mislead the public and saying 49% increase in old age pension. Let us trace the history of this. When the PP Civic came to government, the pension at that time was $300. $300.
And not every Guyanese who attained old age received the pension. You have to go through a means test. Less than 3,000 people was on the pension roll. You have to go through a means test. Fall into the means test. The life expectancy rate was below the age to attain the pension.
You couldn't live to get the pension.
So you couldn't even live to reach the pension in most cases.
I think we got a call. We missed that call.
From then to now, under the PP Civic government, we increased pension by more than 3,000%.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I'm calling in connection with pension reduction, although I'm not a pensioner. This pension reduction is to the rich people, not the poor.
The pension reduction or the pension increase?
No. The reduction of the driver license and
oh yes.
Yeah.
A rich pensioner, he can afford to drive a car. The poor man don't have a car.
But that's not in this year's budget, you know. That's not in 2018. That's what they did in 2017.
2017.
Yes.
So they going out the country with a passport.
The free departure tax and so on.
Yeah, go to the departure tax. Let's just say how often.
You gotta have the money to buy the ticket to get the $2,500 free pass.
But how often does a poor pensioner take a vacation and go to the country?
I think the caller is making an excellent point, Bishop.
It's not a real benefit.
And forget about even, let us say, take it beyond the pensioners. They announced a strategy, a measure, that sounded nice. That vehicles powered by LPG gas would be duty-free. Nice, sounds nice, duty-free vehicle. But guess what?
Being on LPG gas.
Guess what? We ain't got a single LPG
gas
fuel station in Ghana. Right? So by the time you set up for that, 2020. And further, in last year's budget, a policy was announced on duty-free access.
Just hold 1 second, please.
Duty-free access to solar-powered vehicle. How many came in the country?
Not one. We don't know of any. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Numbers. Hello? I think we lost that caller. We take another one. Good evening. You're on to Beyond the Numbers.
Hello?
Yes, you're on to Beyond the Numbers.
Hello?
You gotta turn on your television.
Hello,
Good evening.
I believe these two should come out here, stop feeding people with nonsense.
I don't think you like hearing the truth. Have a pleasant night.
And our democratic right is to share the facts and figures. You have a right to disagree. You have a right to agree. You have a right for your own analysis. But you don't have the right to stop anyone.
No, that's right.
That is our democratic right. So,
and we are sharing with the
just
people.
to educate the caller, democracy would not allow that.
Yeah, we are educating the people on
the facts.
Facts beyond the numbers.
Reality. The numbers we're talking about is from the budget itself.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening.
Welcome, sir.
I'm calling from Borby.
Thank you, Barbie, for coming through.
I'm a pensioner. And 2015, the benefit that I had received, and when they made it $17,000, it was, when you take the subsidy that I was receiving in electricity and water, and when I calculated then, when it totaled, because the electricity worked out to $2,500 per month, and my water rate worked out about $1,000.
That's right.
A month. There's $3,500 per month. And when you add it up with the $17,000 they make it was just about $60 that you can see extra money they really give. And now with the $60 extra, I have to find out every month $200 profit to pay water rate, and $200 to pay the light bill. The question is if you all should find out this duty-free concession or whatsoever, how many people benefiting from that?
That's right.
And because they claimed only 200, too much out of only benefiting on this electricity and water rate, with a lot of people being fooled. They say only who wear the shoes know they return. And it hurts me until now because I want to know how many people benefiting from this concession with traveling or whatever.
You know something?
How many?
I can promise you, my respected elder, I will ask the question when we consider the estimates.
How many? I was asking that question.
So I will ask the question to the minister. We will make sure we ask that question.
You need to tell us how many are benefit on that now. Because the amount of people that they said then that were not benefiting from the water subsidy and the electricity, trust me, not one of these people will benefit from that access. Because if a man even get money as a claim with the house problem, you don't get money for my car.
Well, I think, Bishop,
thank you, sir.
This caller, respected elder,
it was a very
has made a very, very important point. And that is a pensioner speaking.
Yeah.
You're hearing it from his mouth.
And his perspective.
He, under the PP government, was $3,500 better off
every month
than this government. Now, if you look at the net effect for the pensioner, the removal of the water subsidy and the removal of the electricity subsidy and the increase in food prices by 4.5%, the increase in medical and personal care by 3.4%, and the increase in transportation services, the net effect for the pensioner is that they're worse off today. They have less disposable income in the pension, and the pension, in actual fact, has reduced from their position in 2015. Our caller made this point very effectively.
Before I take this next call, let me read what the minister himself said. Mr. Speaker, we did not promise that the good life would be achieved in our first term. For we have always been cognizant that it will be a long journey on the road with many winding turns, which Minister Jordan is admitting they lied to the people of Guyana in their manifesto. The life of a manifesto is 5 years. You go to an election saying this is what I will do in 5 years. And now they're admitting they lied. Let's take in this next caller. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Numbers.
Good night, Mr.
Good night. Yes, good night. You need to turn on your radio or your TV, getting feedback.
I remember, Mr. when the government was in power, and I was preparing the budget and asking him with the finance minister. And Mr. Carbon asked him to let him participate and put forward certain things into the budget. You know what was asked in second and in the last word? It's a PPP right, not the opposition to produce a budget. It's covenant amount to produce a budget. Right? This is one. Two, and Mr. Edghill, to you, this thing politics bringing the best to you out, bringing the best to you out, and people really see who is really big, Edghill. Mr. Ali, keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. But let me just say this before you go. Every year, we consulted widely on our budgets. And if Minister Ashley Singh or former Attorney General Anil Andalal emphasized that it is a government's right to present a budget, they were quite in order. Because it's just at how you have to interpret it. We consult, we listen, but it is the executive that brings the budget to the parliament for scrutiny and debate. Nobody else could do it. As a matter of fact, the Constitution says the Minister of Finance need to say Cabinet has approved that this budget be presented.
You're right. The budget is the responsibility of the executive, but the executive, in executing that responsibility, has an important duty to ensure that as much consultation and stakeholders are involved in the process.
Because you're doing it for the
say
people.
this to the caller. Because we don't want, we're not negative. We presented before the budget over 120 measures,
proposals,
in a motion to the National Assembly,
which was never heard.
And the purpose of that motion was to help the minister in understanding the realities of the economy, to define the framework, policy, and measures that would enhance the prospect of every Guyanese. But that motion was never debated.
Good evening. Welcome to our program tonight.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
We were running in 2013, AP New FC. They will be divorced in 2018, February 14. They will be divorced.
Oh, they're getting divorced in February? You heard that or you're seeing that?
We see that, we know that.
Oh, that's your analysis. Well, share it with the nation. They will discuss it further. Thank you, sir. Good night. People are making their own political analysis, and you know, the other night when I was on Freedom Radio, an elderly gentleman just like this called in and says, when y'all go to Parliament on the 2nd, they're not going to allow y'all to talk. I said, how you mean they're not going to allow us to talk? They said, I'm going to tell you, they're not going to allow you to talk. And so said so. President Granger came, made his speech, and when he's finished the over the Parliament, we didn't get to talk. So it's sometimes good to listen to the old people.
Let me say this. Regardless of whether they divorce, remarry, or give each other blow, that's their political life.
Mm-hmm.
However, that does not take away from the fact that when you run a campaign and you come out with a manifesto, you are making a binding contract
with the people,
between you and the people. And you have to deliver on that manifesto. You cannot betray the promises in that manifesto.
And now come and say you didn't promise.
And then say now that, well, we're going to look at it later the next time, not in this 5 years.
Let's take this other caller. Good evening and welcome to our program.
Good evening, Mr. Bishop.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, I was listening to the program. I was here. You were saying that the AFC and APNU say a good life for all Guyanese. But I was looking at the newspaper today. I was saying that get a 500 increase.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say that in the region too, they have people who are working like the RU and the other person who work with them. They're getting a salary. Because they're getting extra money for do shopping and whatever for their own selves. And they're getting that salary. So these people are getting $19,500. There are people who can't work anymore. And how much money they think you can do for them. Look how much money work with this government, or how much extra money they are making for their own self now. They're getting free gasoline to go to work and so forth. Especially in Essequibo region too.
Are you calling from Essequibo, sir?
Yeah, I'm calling from Essequibo.
Okay.
Let me say this to my dear friend on the line. You know, when the PP Civic was in government, we adopted an equitable approach to growth and development.
Mm-hmm.
That is why when certain communities were depressed, we ensured that we subsidize those communities.
Mm-hmm.
We have asked this government from time to time, given the plight of the rice farmers, what set of incentive, what support are we giving directly to those regions and communities that are affected?
Mm-hmm.
Rice, both rice and sugar. Nothing has been announced that can help the people in Essequibo, that will help them to subsidize
whatsoever.
Look at Region 10. They constantly speak about an economic development plan. Not a single mention of that. Not a single outlay of measure that deals with the economic enhancement and welfare of the people of these targeted regions.
Good evening and welcome. Good evening. Good evening. Look like we lost that caller. I'm looking at the time. I think we are... Okay, we have a caller here. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, I'm calling from Bobby.
Yes, thank you, Bobby, for coming through.
Just want to make a point, please.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Minister of Finance make a very important point. that he didn't promise to. Hello?
Yes, we're listening to you.
Yeah, he didn't promise to give the good life in this store. But the next one. But they are very good in making the good life for themselves in this store.
They promise themselves a good life.
In this store. Right. Next term.
But let me just say, there will be no other term for them. Let's make that very clear. And the Guyanese people need to send that message across the country to President Granger and his cabinet. There will not be a second term.
Well, I hope so. We will all stand for that. I heard the Prime Minister say it's the best budget ever presented.
He's singing for his supper.
So I don't know what terms did he think.
No, you see, I saw the ad where the ministers are saying, oh, this is the best budget, people's budget. But beyond that, they have not outlined or elaborated on a single measure that would make it, that makes it the best budget. It is just fluff.
Poor man.
Right?
Nothing for the poor man.
That's right.
Nothing. It's not pro-poor. It's not pro-growth. It's not pro-development.
And next thing, what point I want to make is this. I heard they say those people who have the license for the little shops and so on. And if it is expired next year, they will not renew it again.
No, they're saying that you got to get a provisional license for 2 years.
Yeah.
What they're basically trying to do there through that measure, they'll explain that more in the debate, is that all the people who weren't in the tax net, you're doing a little small business and so on and so on, they want you now to get a license. They'll give you the license provisionally for 2 years. But after 2 years when you're registered, you can start feeling the weight of paying taxes, not as just merely as a self-employed person, but you'll have to be paying taxes as a business.
As a business.
As a business. That's what they're doing.
Look at the tourism sector, for example, Bishop.
So them little businessman is done.
They can start feeling the squeeze because remember, this government has not brought in any foreign direct investment. They have not been able to create jobs. They have not been able to stimulate the economy. They're spending more money on food, more money on parade, more money on dressing up, more money on Moses, more money on travels. So where they getting it from? They got tax the people.
Bishop, let me make another point.
Thank you.
All right.
Let me make another point in relation to tourism. It is my firm belief, having worked in the sector for a while, that tourism has great potential. It's an area for growth, it's an area for development, and any government, every government, should invest heavily
in
tourism, promoting Guyana and creating opportunities for investment.
And it is a known fact that tourism creates employment faster than any other sector.
Now look at the measure that was announced. Okay, one of the things that hampers the development of the sector is the cost of transportation. Last year, because of the VAT on flights, that the provision of that service has increased by about 15%. Cost of taking in goods, cost of taking in tourists, cost of servicing these community has increased. So the tour operators has increase of about 15 to 20% on their overhead, on the cost of selling a product, and it's already expensive. No talk about removing that, no talk about tax incentive, and then you give concession on vehicles for transportation services, which is good, but you say for companies more than 5 years old.
No startup.
So how are you going to encourage investment? How are you going to pull new money into the sector?
No new money.
How are you going to promote sector when you put that hindrance,
and
that clause?
I want to share the view that has been expressed by the leader of the opposition. Maybe this is a measure to benefit some of the people who have supported them and have financed them. Because the people who are in the tourism sector in region 1, 7, 8, and 9, it's not in Georgetown, 1, 7, 8, and 9 that can get this vehicle between 2,000 and 4,000 cc, the excise tax is off, but they got to be 4 years or newer.
5 years in it.
4 years.
5 years in the business.
And you got to be in the business 5 years. But now when they take off the excise tax, you got to pay 14% VAT. and you know if you buy a 2017 vehicle, the price between a 2017 vehicle and a 2006 vehicle is so much different that when you pay the taxes, the money gone back up
Yeah,
again.
but notwithstanding all of that, the measure is counterproductive.
Counterproductive. Let's take this caller. Good evening. Thanks for coming through.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening.
We're hearing you. Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good
Go
evening.
ahead. We're hearing you.
I'm listening to the program,
Uh-huh.
and while Mr. Ali doing a very good job trying to explain, trying to understand the people's point of view, Mr. Bishop seems to be in a different mood. Listen just now when Mr. Bishop mentioned that there would be no EP and UAF government market power 2020. Why are you so predictable?
Well,
I'm asking that question.
why I'm so predictable?
Yes.
Because I listen to the mood of the people across the country where I've been traveling, and I've been listening to the APNU AFC supporters as well. That's why it could be so predictable.
And in the budget itself,
That is why, that is the reason why you could be wrong too, because I was listening to Dr. Shelly Jagan at the lecture that Dr. Shelly Jagan won against Mr. Hyde. I was in a Blue River when that pulled a meeting there. And I mentioned a lot of stuff that would get done within the 4 to 5 years. And he never get to not even half of the amount of that mention he would have get done.
I just have to correct you on that point. And then I can do the analysis and show you. And we will do it and put it in the press. Every single manifesto promise that the PPP made in successive government has been fulfilled. Save and except the 2015, just let me make this point. Save and accept the 2015, the 2011 manifesto, where we had the specialty hospital, and where we had hinterland airstrips,
Which was cut.
all of which
Was cut.
did not materialize because of the fact that the opposition then cut the resources for these projects. Let me make this other point too. We must always remember that the period the PP Civic was in government was characterized by many events. Slow fire, more fire, that disrupted the economy, disrupted the provision of services. We had the Hardmanson Accord that cut the term, and then we had the great floods. We had these things, all of which affected development, but yet we were able to have successive years of growth, 10, 12 years of successive growth and development. We had greater disposable income. We had expansion in every segment of the economy. The productive sector were doing far better.
Not allowing me to say anything.
All right,
No,
go on. Let's hear.
Yes, these things happen with all the government that's been in power. I live in this country for over 55, almost 60 years. See, these things happen with the PNC, and there's no lifetime. It's happened with the PPP. It's happened with all the governments that come in power. But how Bishop is talking, it's like the PPP have no fault whatsoever.
I never said so, sir.
Yes, that's how we're talking and listening to you all the time. Not only this program, all the programs, you operating like if the PPP is the most perfect government the world has ever produced.
I can tell you certainly have not been listening to me then.
I always listen to you.
I'm telling you, I could be certain that you haven't been listening, because I have been one of the members of the PPPC team that has admitted that we have made mistakes, we have learned from our mistakes, and we are doing better as a result of those experiences. But it don't seem that you would have heard that.
That's cool.
So have a good night, sir.
Anyhow, let's just make this last point, please. You mentioned that the AP and UAF government would be out of power in 2020. But
Yes.
I want to tell you that you have 20 more years of
doing what you're doing there, because they would not be out of power, because you speaking to the PPP supporters, so we don't have to keep these kind of meetings and all these things for the PPP. The PPP supporters will say voting for the PPP, regardless if what is it? They would vote for the PPP. So you don't have to mention all these other things. The AP and UAFC government, and the next thing you mentioned is PNC. PNC never won this 2015 election. It's the AP and UAFC government that won the 2015.
Where is the AFC and all that is happening now? If it's not the PNC, where is the AFC that is happening all now? That would be a different debate. But just to say, sir, you're entitled to your view, and just to let you know, your view is a minority one. Thank you. Have a good night.
Well, your view is minority. Your view is a minority.
Have a good night. All right. Yes, it would look like some people are getting upset because the AP and AFC is being exposed for duplicity. They are being exposed for insincerity. Their hypocrisy is being revealed, and their breach of promise with the people of Guyana is being exposed.
Listen, Bishop. The Guyanese people are educated. And a young politician, what I've learned is that you can't make empty promises to the Guyanese people anymore. You can't betray your commitment to the Guyanese people.
They hold you
accountable. And if you look at what the minister said in the budget, he is actually admitting that, listen, we have not delivered, and he is speaking to a disappointment. And that is why he said, well, we can't achieve all these things. We never promised all these things in the first term. But you made a point. Whatever you promise in your manifesto is what you are supposed to be held accountable for.
Just hold a second. Yep. Please, or your radio.
I think we just have 2 minutes to
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Please turn on your TV. That's that we can't keep you in the air.
I'm a pensioner. I'm 80 years old.
Yes, 80 years old. Let them turn on the TV in the house then.
I don't want to give $5 more. $5 more. Before I take the $5 give me, but I can take a money and put it on a box and I see the last one. Where's the bathroom? You know? What?
Sorry, we have to terminate that call. It's not going to go. We have to keep the discussion civil.
Let's not let the emotion take over.
Well, let's wind up here because we've been going for a while.
Let me say, I just want to make this final point. What we are embarking on here tonight, I just want to assure the listening public, is a fact-based analysis on what exists in Budget 2018. And the public and the listeners will draw their own conclusions. You have access to the documents. You can verify what we're saying. You can verify physically by experience from those in the community. You heard a number of pensioners calling in to give their own example. So we are not here just to score political points. We are here to factually analyze the numbers and beyond the numbers. And I think it is evident that Budget 2018 takes us nowhere. Thank you.
In our closing remarks, my closing remarks, I would want to say it was clear that the Minister of Finance knew that he would have difficulty selling this budget to the people of Guyana, convincing the people of Guyana this budget is going to work for them. That is why they went on an aggressive public relations campaign before the budget was read by putting up fancy billboards. And the Department of Public Information, from the time the budget was read to last night midnight, put out 21 stories. They're on overdrive, trying to ram information down people's throat so as to obfuscate the real issues. But we would like to promise the people of Guyana, as a responsible political opposition, we will continue to engage you, bring to you the information in a manner that you can understand, and stay tuned to the budget debate. The budget debate starts 10 o'clock next Monday morning. Next Monday morning at 10 o'clock. the budget debate starts, and some of our MPs are across the country, like we always do, and we will always continue to do, talking to people, explaining the budget, listening to their concerns, so that when we go to the debate, we're not speaking just what we think, we are speaking as representatives of the people. This is where we have to go. Thank you for joining us. And it was a pleasure, sir, sharing this hour plus with you, talking to the people and even the callers who disagree with our views. Thanks for calling. That's what democracy is all about. And you have an opportunity to share your voice and to make your views known, and we respect them as well. Good night and God bless you all.
Thank you very much.